What's up, guys? Happy Friday. It's time for your Friday Fun Day Part 3. This will be third period shoutouts. Third period was a really fun class, just to talk about the whole class for a second. I think it was the first class of all of my secondary 2 math classes that sort of like came out of their shell. You guys, because all you guys started really quiet, and it was sort of funny how 8 days would go, because first period was just super quiet. Second period was kind of crazy. No one wanted to do their homework. And then third period, I would like teach everything and you guys were pretty quiet, and then you would do your homework, which was like really nice early in the year. Maybe later in the year you got a little more distracted during homework time. But third period was just a ton of freaking fun. There was always a lot of good energy in the class, and I'll never forget the old stack, the old Minecraft stack. I think we were going over like exponents or whatever, and we got to like 8 to the second power, and I was like, all right, it's 64. And Edwin or Isaac or someone was like, that's a stack. I was like, oh no, here we go. This is going to be like some inappropriate stuff I don't want to be talked about as a teacher. But then it was just like Minecraft innocence, which was fun. And I don't know, man. I mean, third period was just, I always really looked forward to it on A days because, that was like the last class before lunch, and just a lot of great kids in that class. So that being said, let's get to the list. I wrote something positive to say about everybody in the class. So I'm going to start, we're going alphabetically, and I'll start at the top of the list here with Colton. Colton, you had spurts of greatness is what I wrote for you, man. You just, every now and then you would just come out and you would freaking crush it. And you were just awesome, and you're a super smart kid, Colton. So I really hope you're doing well out there, taking care of yourself, buddy. Next up is Julia. And Julia, what I wrote for you was that you were consistently amazing. And it was so funny because sometimes you'd come in like the day after we took a test and you'd be like, oh, Mr. Thompson, I'm like worried that I didn't do well on the test. And then I would like have it for you to hand back. And it was like, you missed one question, Julia. Like, yeah, you freaking really struggled, clearly. But no, seriously, Julia, you were always awesome. And I just hope you're doing well out there. So next up is Taylor Branham. And Taylor, go Pats, Taylor. I'm wearing my Patriots hat right now, as always. As I can do now, that we don't have to be adhering to school dress code. Maybe we do, but either way, I'm getting away with it. And Taylor, we had a lot of really good conversations about things not always like math related, and I appreciate those kind of conversations. So I hope you're doing well out there, Taylor. I miss you. All right, Johan. Johan, you're next up, buddy. And what I wrote for you was you're always bringing in like random stuff into class, and maybe not always, but there were a couple times, like I'll never forget when you brought in like a cowbell, and I think it was maybe right before Christmas break. And I thought it was Isaac that brought it in. So, of course, I like blamed it on Isaac. And he was like, no, that's Johan's. And it was like, really? Like, Johan, why do you have a cowbell? It was just kind of funny. You're always doing stuff like that, Johan. So I hope you're taking care of yourself out there, my man. All right, Mark, you are up next. And what I wrote down for you, Mark, was I thought it was funny that first parent-teacher conference when I think your mom, someone brought up like my age. And I was like, Mark, how old do you think I am? And you guessed something like hilariously low. You were like, you're like 20 years old. And I was like, Mark, if I was 20 years old, I wouldn't be old enough to be your teacher. And I don't know, that was just funny. Mark, you've always been a fun kid. I hope you come out and play football next year, as I was bugging you all along. So I think you'd make a good linebacker. Okay, next up is Jose Delau. And Jose, freaking best dressed by far, man. I guess maybe I shouldn't say by far, but you were always rocking like pretty nice stuff. You had like the Gucci belt. I don't even remember all the brands anymore. I used to work at Nordstrom, but that was a long time ago. And Jose, like, you're one of the three musketeers, you, Chris, and Carlos, always kind of joking around, saying funny stuff, having funny stories. And I miss you, buddy. I hope you're doing well out there, Jose. Next up is Jaylee. And Jaylee, what I'll always think of when I think of you, there's a lot of things. You're a great kid, but this one thing really sticks out to me, and that was there was one day where you had missed like a day or two previously, and so you were working with Miss Lori in the back of the classroom. And so after you guys finished up working together, the class was over, and I was talking to Miss Lori at lunch, and I was like, so how did Jaylee do today? And she was like, yeah, she did pretty well. And I asked Miss Lori, do you think Jaylee needs like extra help with what we went over today that she missed? And Miss Lori said, no, I think she was like paying attention to what you were saying while also doing what I was saying. So Jaylee, you were like multitasking 2 different types of math, which is like not surprising at all because you're freaking brilliant, Jaylee. So I hope you're taking care of yourself out there. Next up is Carlos. And Carlos, what I think of with you is if you're not smarter than me already, you're one of the kids that I'm thinking like, that's a kid that's definitely going to be smarter than me at some point. Like you're going to be like working for NASA one day or something. Because you just like the sky is the limit for you, man. You're so freaking smart and you have just such a perfect like student demeanor. You're just always interested in learning. You're asking great questions. And Carlos, you're like one of my go-to kids to make sure that any story or anything that's going to be brought up is going to be school appropriate. I'm always like, Chris will say something and I'm like, Carlos, can we talk about this? And you're like, yeah, this will be okay. So Carlos, I miss you, buddy. I hope you're taking care of yourself. All right, next up is Braxton. And Braxton, when I think of you, man, I think of early in the year because you were sitting front and center and you and Brooklyn were like hilarious together. And you like worked really well together. But early in the year when, like I said earlier, when you guys were like super quiet, that first part of first quarter or whatever. And anytime I had a question and I'd be kind of looking around and I could look at Braxton and Braxton would at least have an answer for me. So Braxton, I miss you, buddy. Hope you're taking care of yourself out there. All right. And next up is going to be Edwin. And Edwin, I think you were like the spirit of the class. And I mean, you always brought like really good energy into the classroom. And I always really looked forward to seeing you walking down the hall, rocking like a Dodgers jersey or something cool with a nice chain. And maybe like some of the other kids thought I got away with, or you got away with talking too much because I would always like interact with you, man. Like we always had fun conversations in the middle of class where I would catch myself like 3 or 4 times in a row being like, all right, we got to get back to the example. And it was like, Edwin, you always just found a way to kind of get me off track, I guess is a good way to put it. So Edwin, you're super smart though, man. You always crushed it on exams, always got your homework done, sent me funny emails about not understanding things. So anyway, I hope you're taking care of yourself, buddy. I miss you. All right, Michael Jones, you are up next. And Michael, when I think of you, I think of Packers football, man. And I really hope you and Porter are going to help me out next year with the stats for the high school team. And Michael, you also just freaking crushed it all the time. Like your test scores were always awesome. You always, it was kind of funny because there would be times in class where I'd ask a question and it would be dead quiet. And it was a question that like, as a teacher, I'm like, people definitely know the answer to this. They just don't want to say it. And Michael would be like, the answer is 55 or whatever. It was like, thank you, Michael. So Michael, I appreciate you, buddy. I miss you. Hope you're taking care. All right, next up on the list is Matsy. And where do you even start with Matsy? Of course, with talkative Matsy. What do you even say? It was kind of funny because going from second period to third period, you even joked around about how like, oh, third period is going to be your bad class now that I'm in it. And I was like, I don't think so. But it definitely, you brought a certain amount of energy. And that's what I always appreciated about you, Matsy, is that you, for better or for worse, would bring good energy to the class. And that's something that I think math class really needs is people that will talk out, usually saying things that, I hope are related to math and all that business. But Matsy, I'm disappointed with how track season ended up for us. I was really having a lot of fun with it. Always enjoyed seeing you at track practice. So hope you're taking care of yourself out there, Matsy. All right, next up is Chris. And a couple of things with Chris. The first one being your SoundCloud rapping career, which like I remember when I think it was Carlos that told me to listen to it and I put it on. I was like, this is not bad, Chris. You could maybe make a career out of this. You can be in like a rap video where you're standing in front of like your awesome cars that I've heard so many hilarious stories about. Those stories are always going to get me, man. I hope you guys still come by next year and have even better stories for me about you drifting through the neighborhood and whatnot. Not trying to get you in trouble or anything, but I miss you, Chris. Hope you're doing well out there, buddy. All right, Jack, you are up next. And what I wrote down here is Sleepy Jack, because as much as you slept in class, you usually still kind of knew what you were doing for the most part. But yeah, you'd come in and you would like take notes for a while or you'd take your test or whatever, and then your head would just be boom, right on the table. I hope I'm not getting you in too much trouble for saying this. But Jack, you're a good kid, man. Just like I said with Matsy in track season, I hope that, or I'm sorry that baseball didn't quite go the way that we all probably hoped it would have this year. I was looking forward to coming to a couple games, but there's always next year, right, buddy? So Jack, I hope you're taking care of yourself, man. All right, next up is Logan. And Logan, you were another in-class video game player, which is always kind of, there's a line to draw with when it's acceptable to let the kids be on their phones and everything. But yeah, you and David always were sitting next to each other talking about games and whatnot. And you were one of those kids where when I noticed, I'd be like, all right, I'm going through this example. Logan, what's the answer? But fortunately, man, you usually knew what you were doing. And you were a smart kid and you did well on all your homework and your exams and everything. So Logan, look forward to watching you in some basketball games next year. Hope you're taking care, buddy. Okay, next up is Adam Sharp. You were always my paper pass router, man. That was your job, and it was funny because like handing out classroom jobs, there weren't a lot of them I stuck to throughout the year, but passing out papers was one of them. And Adam, you would come in with like awesome hoodies and stuff, maybe giving Jose a run for his money for best dressed. But I miss you, Adam. Hope you're taking care of yourself out there, my man. Okay, a few left. Next up is Isaac, the GOAT, Stewart. Isaac, my man, you were like top 3 students of like all of my math classes this year, like for sure. You always freaking knocked it out of the park. Grading your exams, like I would be surprised if you weren't like the highest score in the class a lot of the time. And I'm gonna miss you, my man. I loved our shared sense of like dry, maybe slightly darker humor to a degree. And I'll never forget that joke about you being like a dark joke dealer. I just thought that was hilarious, my man. So I hope you're taking care out there, Isaac. Long hair, guys, we got to stick together, right? Brooklyn, you're up next. And Brooklyn, it was always funny. Speaking of long hair, you're always like wanting to see my hair. So maybe one of these days in a video, I'll let the hair down, unleash it for you guys. Brooklyn, another thing I think of when I think of you is kind of like what I said with Braxton. Early in the year when not a lot of people would talk out, you were always like really confident with saying answers. And I like freaking love that about you because as a teacher, you need students like that who are going to be willing to speak out even if, you know, they might be wrong. And like 99% of the time you were right and you knew what you were doing. So Brooklyn, super smart. Always been crushing it. I hope you're taking care of yourself out there. All right, next up is David. And David, when I think of you, I think of AIP and how you, Jaden, Jaime, and who was the third kid or the fourth kid? Was it? His name. I'm forgetting his name. It was, I don't remember exactly. But you guys would always be back there joking around and maybe making a little too much noise. But I loved having you guys there, man. And I hope next year you guys stop by and say hi during AIP. And David, I just hope you're taking care of yourself, buddy. You're a good kid. All right, 2 more. And you two kind of go hand in hand. I'll start with Mike Kinsey. And Kinsey, you were always letting me know when you thought I wasn't doing as good of a job teaching as you thought I should. And that was, I don't know, we had a pretty good dynamic there, Mike Kinsey. You always brought a lot of attitude, for better or for worse, usually for better, I think. And I always looked forward to hearing like the stories you had to tell after class. You and Rice would stick around. So Mike Kinsey, I hope you're doing well out there. I hope you're taking care of yourself. You've been doing well with your online learning, so I appreciate that. And of course, so next up is Rice. And the last is Rice on the list here. And Rice, for whatever the reason, you're not on the roll anymore. I hope you're still at West Jordan. I hope you'll be back next year. But if you're not, then here's the last bit I guess I have to say about you. And Rice, similar to Mike Kinsey, I always really loved hearing the stories you guys had for me after class. And I'll never forget the drama with the kid that was in my stats class. Let's just put it that way. That was just always a lot of fun to hear about, kind of get both sides of the story. And I mean, like I said, you guys, third period, you guys were so much fun. And I loved having you guys right before lunch because there was always funny things that would happen. I could go in and tell the other math teachers about them. And I miss you guys, man. I really do. It's been tough. Now we're into we're over a month now of the at-home learning, and it's going to continue the rest of the year. So I just miss everybody, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next year. I hope that this doesn't extend into next year. Well, I guess it's too early to make that call, but I hope everybody's doing well out there. I love you guys. I miss you guys, and I'll see you in the next video, okay?